And we continue learning Dirshu Mishnah Brura. We're beginning a new siman in the halachas of the Seudah, siman Kof Ayin Dalid. Kof Ayin Dalid, a siman in which the Machaber coins as din birchas hayayin b'seudah, the halachas of wine during a seudah. Says the Machaber, so the first halacha, one that I'm sure we all knew, just sometimes you have to think about, is that wine is not patered by a Hamotzi. Even it could be a Tuesday night dinner, maybe you washed, but you're sitting there and you're going to have a glass of wine, you need to make a new Hamotzi, a new hagafen on that glass of wine. Says the Mishnah Brura Sif Katan Aleph. Ve'ina bas botarta. Hainu, what does that mean? So the Mishnah Brura sort of comes along to ask the obvious kasha. Ask the Mishnah Brura, what is the reason that bread does not pater wine? Wine is there, it's there to soak up the food in your stomach. This is something that you're eating due to the Seudah, in the middle of the meal. So what is the reason that the pas does not pater up the bread? So explains the Mishnah Brura, the reason being, and explains the Mishnah Brura, the reason is sheniftarim beberchas abaskos zolikaman mikol makayim hayil vayayinu chashiv, even though it should pater, and all reasons point that it is patered, because it has the same seviyah, has the same type of satiation like everything else. Still, says the Mishnah Brura, yayin is chashiv. Therefore, it is not a tafel, it is not auxiliary to bread. And even if one explicitly has in mind to pater the bread with the bracha on the Hamotzi, to pater everything that he drinks, loy mahani leyayin. So it's not a kavana issue. It's not that having wine is abnormal and therefore it's not within your das. No, you could have das and you could be thinking, I want to batter you could have das to batter your yayin. But lamaisa, due to the chashivos of yayin, therefore it is not patered by a Hamotzi. And we continue with Sif Gimel, says the Machaber. Yayin aboiter kol minei mashkin, wine paters all types of liquids. Haga, filu bracha rishon, even the bracha rishon. Now this is the halacha that unfortunately is not known by everyone and causes, unfortunately, certain bracha levatalos to be happen at Kedushim, etc. So let's learn this well. So we just learned in Sif Aleph that bread does not pater wine. So now the question is, okay, but what does wine pater? Says the Machaber, wine paters everything. Wine paters all drinks. Yayin paitis have got a base. Shuraish v'risha l'chol hamashkin. It's the head of all liquids. V'kulam nitbalim lai, and everything is nitbal. It's considered auxiliary to yayin. Kol minei mashkin ubelvad. She'elafanav al shulchan b'shas she'berachal yayin has to be in front of you on the table when you make a bracha on the wine. Tilu lo elafanav b'shas bracha. If it's not in front of you at the time that you make a bracha, even if you bring the liquids in front of you when b'shasha amar adayin lefanav, meaning it's not a das issue. Even if you bring the liquids in front of you, no, excuse me, let me say that better. Let's say the liquids weren't there, and you bring it there during the bracha. Then you would have to make a bracha on that. So again, according to the first sheet, that is a das issue. But here's what I was referring to, that even the drinks that are not in front of you, lamaisa the agafen paters, if you have das. This is only if you're not keveya to have wine, you're having one cup. If you're having kaviyas on yayin, then it works for all liquids. Because it's there while the wine is there. Says the Mishnah Brura, Sheyishar mashke lefana beis berchasal yayin. You should have the other liquids on the table while you're having the wine. V'dan, you should know. Shem kiddush al yayin v'yitziach cherem beberchasai, which is going to be the very common case. You're mekadesh al yayin, and you were mitzi others with your bracha on the wine. Im loitama mikoshal kiddush rotzen lishtois shar mashkin. Let's say you didn't drink from the kais and you want to drink other liquids. Avshei lefneim b'shatz birach al yayin tzrich levarach al mashkin. So this is someone who's listening to Kiddush. So he might think, wait, I just learned that Hagafen Pater's all liquids. So if I'm listening to Kiddush, maybe that's called me making a Hagafen, even if I didn't drink the Hagafen. Says Mishmura, no. If you didn't drink the Hagafen, then it doesn't work. Why does wine Pater? Because all other liquids are considered tafel to it. When you do not drink it, loy shayich tamzeh. It does not considered, this reasoning does not apply. And let's look in the Biur Halacha what he writes about this. So we're going to stop over here in Sif Beis, but let's take a moment, if we have the Dirshu, yes we do. Says the Dirshu, let's start with note number 1 over here. The Eino Nechshav Tafel lepas berachasai. The wine is not considered tafel to the pras. Says the Dirshu over here. But if you made a bracha on the wine in the middle of a meal, and then you go someone else and you want to drink more wine, says the Biur Halacha, you don't make a new bracha because you're middle of a meal, even though, and therefore you have to go back. So the wine could piggyback on your Hamotzi. This is a little bit similar to, we learned, can a shahakal piggyback on a mezainos, because you have to go back. That we saw, I think, a Yaivitz, who was Meikol and Mishabura, wasn't so forgiving. But when it comes to wine and bread, then you could. So this will be your middle of your meal, and you made a hagafen, and you go to a neighbor and you want to have a glass of wine, you're patered with your hagafen because you're middle of a bread meal. Now, there would be another way to do it, which would be if you have das befeirush, that the wine should continue wherever you're going, but that is something else. Shartzi and Isifkat and Beis Kiddush and Adala says the Pri Megadim, you have to make a bracha min al meal, even if the wine is possible for Kiddush. Okay, it's a different halacha. Now, let's conclude with Dirshu number 3, a very time-sensitive, a very important halacha. What about grape juice? We're saying that the reason why wine paters is why? It's because it's roish v'rishon l'chol hamashkin, and everything is nitful to it. What about grape juice? So the Paiskim Dan, what's the story? Is it considered wine in this regard? Because l'maisa, it's not mishtaker, it doesn't make one drunk. It's not misameach like wine. Our Zarua, the Mordechai, that the reason yayin pater is all of the liquids is because yayin is the ikar drink, and therefore this is not by grape juice. However, the Lavush says no. The reason is because due to the chashivos, it gets its own bracha, and just like grape juice gets the same own bracha, it would have the same halacha as wine, and it would pater other liquids. And again, just to play out the case why it's so important, you're by a kiddush and you make kiddush on wine, or let's say now grape juice. Now you want to go take a drink of soda. Do you need a shackle? Of course, if you're going to go have a different shackle, you're going to have a candy, you're going to have a piece of herring, and you're going to make a shackle on that. Anyways, will pater up your drinks. But the question is not. You go right away, you have a shot of alcohol, you go and you have a glass of soda. Is that going to be patered with your hagafen? So if it's wine, the answer is yes, assuming that you made the bracha or you drank from the one that was mekadesh. But now, what's the question with grape juice? Says Ol Yashiv, we should be chayshish that it does not pater other liquids. So too says Rav Vosner and the Shevet HaLevi. Rav Yashiv adds on that if you drink a little bit, if shem sheismenu pach less than moli lugbav, then bavadai it doesn't pater, and even lechatzchila you can make the shachal. However, Shem Zalman Arbach comes along, and Rav Nissen Krelitz, and Rav Chaim Kanievsky, and they say it as a din of wine and a paters of the liquids. So this is a difficult machlekes. Of course, one should try to have wine. Lemaisa. Many, especially here in America, are makel on this shayla, like the shita of Rosh Zalman. And if one has grape juice, they can consider that it paters up all of the liquids during the meal. And we'll stop with this. We'll pick it up from Sif Gimel in the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.